And so we did. Over and over again, we see Jesus speaking to older people who, if they were in America, would be wanting to retire or be retired. And he said, no. If you're in this life, you're in the game. And Jesus is saying, come on, build your house, build your life on the rock. And the question is, are you going to do it? So let's think for a minute about what Jesus is trying to say to all of us in this passage today. First, understand that he's teaching them about building on the firm foundation. And it comes soon after his Sermon on the Mount. In fact, it's part of the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount isn't one chapter. It's not chapter 5. It just goes on for chapters. And he's preaching to a very large group of people. And throughout the day, Jesus has been preaching to this vast multitude, and they have been listening with awe and amazement, it says. And he tells them that it's never simply enough to listen and accept what he says. We have to do what he says. If these words are to have any effect in our lives, we have to do them. We have to live them out. And to drive this point home, he starts telling them about these two local contractors who build houses. And if you were to stand inside these two homes, they would be virtually identical. Even from the outside, if you were to look at them, they would be virtually identical on the outside as well. But Jesus said one is built upon rock and the other is built upon the sand. And when he speaks about houses and foundations, he knew what he was talking about. He was a carpenter by trade. He was in one of the building trades. He was in the construction business. He knew how things should be put together. And he knew what it looked like when they weren't. And the people listening to this very long teaching understood very well the significance of building on the rock. He was speaking to them out of their experience. But really, very few of them wanted to live among the rocks, because what Jesus was talking about was building your house higher up, building your house among the rocks, and that meant grading the side of the hill. It meant you would have to haul building materials up the side of the hill. It meant if you were going to live up there, you were going to have a harder life, because you had to carry water up the hill. If you're living up the hill, the winter winds would be colder. And what most people then wanted to do was build their houses, well, they wanted to follow the path of least resistance. They wanted to build their homes down where it was flat, next to the streams. There, the scenery was more pleasant. The water didn't have to be carried as far. The houses were sheltered from the cold winds of winter by all the hills. Now, everybody understood that there was a danger from flooding, but, you know, most of the time the stream is just a trickle. That wasn't really something to worry about too much. Maybe once in a generation, a 100-year flood would come. You know, there'd be a combination of heavy snow, there'd be a quick thaw and a torrential downpour, and there'd be a flash flood, and everything would be swept away. Entire towns would disappear in minutes, moments. House after house after house would be obliterated. And so Jesus is telling them about something they've heard about, not something strange. He's not telling them a preacher's story. You know, that's where one of my illustrations fits the point pretty well, but it just sounds too good to be true. That's a preacher's story. On the contrary, Jesus is talking about a life situation that they have heard about and seen. In this parable today, all of us understand that we're all involved in the process of building. It doesn't matter if you're in Palestine or past Christianity. This speaks to our situation. When the flood comes, you have to rebuild. That's what we're doing. After you rebuild, you have to occupy your home, your town. Third, the real test in life comes when the storm comes back. Because that's the experience we have as well, isn't it? That the storms come on a fairly regular basis, over and over again. The storm is going to come again. It's just a matter of time. And so that if that's true, and you know it's true, then why not build to survive? Why not plan to survive? Of course, the human tendency is to do the easy thing. It's so much more work to build up higher. It's so much easier to do it the same way we've always done it. But this is a lesson we can apply to every area of our life. When you rebuild your homes after the storm, we want to build up higher. We want to build up stronger. You want to build on the rock, not on the sand. When you begin a marriage, you want to build on the rock. You want to put God first. And even though it's harder, you do it because it's right. As we rebuild Trinity Church, we have to do the same sort of thing. We have to build up higher. We have to build on the rock. And see, what all of these lessons are talking about is that we are obedient to God, we will be blessed. And so the blessing comes through the obedience. And it is hard. I don't want to tell you this is an easy life. It's not. It's a very demanding life. But the life of a Christian is one that is full of joy. Father Rogers used to have that wonderful choice. He'd say, you have two choices. You can have a life of pain, or you can have a life of love and pain. Which will it be? And this is all part of that business of take up your cross and follow me. And part of taking up your cross and following Jesus is to build up higher. Build up on the rock. Do the right thing. Give it a try. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.